What's new with video editing on the iPad? Find out from LumaFusion. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Clear. Get to the front of the line faster, safer, touchless. Get 2 months of Clear free at clearme.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, I've been looking forward to this ever since the Apple spring-loaded event because we have with us a company that was featured in the videos. And I thought it was great. As the videos were going by, it's like, yeah, I know them. That's great. We have Terri and Chris here from LumaTouch to talk about LumaFusion. Terri, Chris, great to see you. Thanks so much, and congratulations on making the video.
Oh, thank you, Chuck. It's nice to see you too.
See you. Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, this was great. I know we don't want to get into too much of the backstory, but I mean, how did you all end up in the video? Did I assume that Apple approached you and swore you to secrecy, double secrecy to make sure that the word didn't get out?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. They contacted us and asked us, what we were up to, and then we told them what we were up to in terms of development and features. And then they came back and said, hey, I think that's something that we'd like to highlight in this. And so we worked with them for, how long did it take to go through that process?
Yeah, it's been a few months. So it's a long process, because they have to get started early on looking at all the different possible, companies that could be featured and, what matches well with the new hardware that's coming out. And then there's a lot of work on our end to make that, happen in the way that, looks good and works well. And, so yeah, there was a long process.
I mean, and this situation is different because now we're doing the virtual events. So it's interesting to hear. It's not a surprise, but I think that a lot of people just don't think about the fact that the creation of a video like that does require some months in advance. It's not just something that, 2 days before. I think we'll call Terri and Chris. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, we can see with Apple, they do a lot of planning and a lot of preparation for everything they do. And it's impressive, the scale with which they have to work for every release that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, LumaFusion figured, I felt like prominently, maybe just because I'd recognize the interface and I saw it and I know it. And it seems to be tailor-made. It seems to be almost one of the poster children for the new iMac Pro. iPad Pro. I keep doing that. iPad Pro. We got to get these models straight. So I'm anxious to hear what your reaction is to the iPad Pro and, how LumaFusion fits in as it is now and where you're taking it.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, obviously the iPad Pro is an incredible new piece of hardware. And it fits really well with what we're doing. Both the capabilities from the processor for more effects. One of the things you saw in the video was our new video scopes, which allow you to really take a look at what the colors of your video are as it's playing, really tax the GPU. And so having that new GPU capability really makes it smooth on the new iPad Pro. And probably one of the biggest things is the new Thunderbolt port. That having the even better performance than before will allow us to edit externally on drives rather than using the internal storage. And we're bringing that to any iPad with USB-C as well. As long as you have a fast enough drive, you can do that. But obviously on the new iPad Pro with Thunderbolt, it's a much better experience, more tracks that you can do with a smoother playback and preview experience. So it's just a really beautiful device. And I think, it's going to fit our users and our app incredibly well.
How about the M1? I mean, is that where so many of us are seeing so much power coming out of the M1s we have in our hands now? Right. And the fact that now they're putting it in an iPad of all things, does that give you extra? I mean, obviously things will run faster. Right. At least I hope they'll run faster. But does that add new capabilities that you all can tap?
Well, it definitely, again, the video scopes is a good example that it does allow it a more smooth experience. But honestly, even the previous generation iPad Pro had a very powerful processor in it. The M1 is just a name for that next step, and it does provide more power. But LumaFusion is already, maxing out the bandwidth of what, you can move through memory for the number of, tracks we have, for example. So we still have to find ways to get around that. But once you get past that, you can have more effects. You can do more things at once. It definitely adds more power that we can take advantage of.
Great. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with this, because obviously we don't have our hands on it yet. So when that happens, but everything points to a whole lot more performance and a lot more ease of use and all. But I should ask, what is the status of LumaFusion right now? I know you guys have been releasing fairly regular updates and enhancements. Is that kind of where it is at the moment?
Yeah, well, we've taken a deep dive over the last few months into a lot of features that we've been wanting to release for a long time, or to develop for a long time. So we have a huge list of what I think are really impressive features coming up. So we have first a bunch of free features, which Chris, maybe you can. I
can speak to those. We have the 2.5 version coming out that, we hope to release June 15th. And normally we're not very exact on our dates, but this one we're close enough on the features that I'm going to go ahead and say, when we're going to do it. And that will include our new Resizable Ui, which allows you to just resize any portion of the UI nicely, which I think will really work for more productivity for certain types of users. It will include the new direct external drive editing feature, where you can edit and export to the external drive without having to use the internal storage. Dozens of little small improvements. A new audio EQ, which I'm really excited about. One of the areas that's been a little hard to work with in our app in the past has been some of the audio features, and this new audio EQ, the graphic EQ, is just beautiful in its UI, and will make it a lot easier to refine your audio editing. And one of the biggest new things that's coming is something we've collaborated with CoreMelt, which a lot of your users are probably familiar with. They do some really impressive plugins on Final Cut Pro, and they have brought their video stabilization feature to iOS specifically for us, and we're bringing it to our users free of charge. And that's, we think, really amazing. And they've had it available to us for a little while, and we've been a little slow getting out the feature, but we're really excited to get that out as part of our 2.5 release, and really happy to be working with them as sort of our first third-party plugin and we're doing third-party plugins really differently on iOS, at least for the video plugins, because we want to integrate them and make sure it's a perfect experience. Third-party plugins can be a very mixed experience when you're using them, on the desktop. You get some that are great, some that, will crash your app. And so we're trying to make it a great experience across the board. And then last of all, speaking of third-party plugins, we will be re-enabling third-party audio unit plugins as well in LumaFusion, so that people can use those. Yeah,
and one more thing. I think we'll have the numeric input for the effects editors. Is that right?
Sorry. Yeah, the new, nice new, incredible, a really nice new UI that, for the effects. Yeah.
That is that all? I mean,
no.
Wow.
That's That's the free stuff.
That's the free stuff. I've had CoreMelt on the show several times from NAV, and you're right, they do some amazing, almost magical things with stabilization and different effects. And so to have that be brought to LumaFusion and on an iOS device, an iPad, is like staggering. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That really is.
Just to, address the elephant in the room, like stabilization and speed ramping are now, they haven't always been, but are now our top requested features. So those two are really important to us. Stabilization we had already started working on, and we do have a plan to address the speed ramping later on in this year, hopefully this year. So.
Yeah, I think we'll see it later this fall or winter, at the latest. So it's definitely a high priority for us. But Terri, do you want to talk about the version 3 feature pack coming out?
Yeah, so we have 2 feature packs coming out for version 3, which are, in-app purchases. So if you want them, you buy them. And if you don't have to buy them. But the first one, it will have multicam editing, which I can kind of show you here today with a screen capture, a screen share. And we have video scopes, which you saw, both of those things you saw in the Apple highlight, and keyframe easing and curves. So along with the great new UI we have with the effects editor, you can also do a lot of things with keyframing, like make a round motion instead of a square motion. You can also have things ease in and slow down, or start slow and all that. And you can nudge a keyframe left and right and things like that people have been asking for. And along with that numerical input, it's just going to be it is really great to use. I've already used it. It's really great to use. You have little handles that you can stretch out your curve and all of that. So we're really excited about that one. Multicam editing is a huge, huge feature. It's not just about event people that are shooting with, multiple cameras, 5 or 6 or more cameras. It's about the ability to sync audio with video. So anyone who's using an external mic with their iPhone or other camera can now easily sync that together and create a clip in LumaFusion. And that clip can be used as normal. Or anyone that's doing a 2-camera shoot, like an interview, and you just want to cut between the interviewee and the interviewer, you can easily do that with just a tap, 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 tap. So once those things are sunk together into a clip, you open that clip and tap back and forth to get your cut. And then you can adjust those trim points later. And then lastly is, up to 12 cameras in a multicam. So if you have a drone, you have all your friends have iPhones, or all your professional friends have DSLRs or whatever. If they have time code or matching audio, we can automatically sync those together, or you can manually adjust a sync between the clips. And then you get this clip that's just amazing. You open it up and you can just tap between the angles, and it's really super fun. But I think it's just, it is multicam editing, but to me, it's a whole different way of editing. It's not just about that multicam experience. It could be used for creative things. Like you could put the same clip in every drop zone and then put a different effect on every drop zone, right? And then you've got the same clip with different effects you could tap through, right? So I think people are going to get really creative with this. It's just a fun new way of editing to me. So
you kind of skipped over something that's just so basic. I'm afraid people forget it.
Okay.
The idea that, multicam sounds intimidating, and it was intimidating for a while. And who had 3 or 4 different cameras to place around and do it? Now you can do all that with iPhones. So you could go to a concert, ask your friends, okay, at this particular time, and or this particular song or whatever, record the song. And and the band, and somebody focus on the singer, somebody focused on the guitarist, somebody take a wide shot, and now you've got the raw material for a multi-clip. And now with this, all of a sudden, multi-clip becomes super accessible, as opposed to something that is just for the pros.
That's right. And with those, so you have all those different cameras running. Then you go get the original music for that song, and lay that down on a separate track that doesn't get cut. So we have this master audio track that doesn't get cut when you do the switching. So it gets sunk up, but not cut. So that makes it, you can have this beautiful audio and cut to go along with it.
Yeah.
But I think exciting. We did do a great job in, if I do say so myself, making this an accessible feature. I'll show you, if you like, I could just screen share and show you that when you're ready. But it's just really fun.
This MacVoices is supported by Clear. Get to the front of the line faster, safer, and touchless. Where is your next trip going to be? Or maybe it's your first trip of the year, or for 2 years. Wherever it is, your objective is to get there, not get hung up along the way. That's where Clear comes in. Clear lets you jet, sorry for the pun, through the security lines at the airport and many event venues by using just your eyes and your face as your ID. Fast, frictionless, and fun. That's what Clear brings to the table, because who doesn't enjoy moving fast? There are over 5.5 million people who are already using Clear to make their travels easier. I am one of them, and I'm going to continue to be one of them because of the value Clear gives me. Using Clear means a few extra minutes at the gate to check emails, make a last-minute phone call, or just to get started on whatever I'll be using to pass the time on the flight. And that says nothing of Clear's presence at stadiums, arenas, concert spaces, offices, and more. Clear is the absolute best way to help you get back to what you love. They have locations in over 35 airports across the country, making it safer, easier, and faster to reunite with loved ones or to take that much-needed vacation. It works great with PreCheck, too. And right now, for a limited time, you can get your first 2 months of Clear for free. Go to clearme.com/MacVoices and use the code MacVoices. That's Clear, CLEAR, me.com/MacVoices with the code MacVoices for your first 2 months of Clear for free. clearme.com/MacVoices and the code MacVoices. Thanks to Clear for their support of MacVoices.
Well, yeah, let's do it, because I think I'm anxious to see it, and I know everybody else would be. So definitely, screen share away.
Okay, here's Multicam in LumaFusion. So over here in my library, you can see I have 12 different clips, and I'm going to go ahead and create a Multicam clip. You can name it, but I'm going to leave it Multicam 40. And here you see my drop zones. And I'm going to go ahead and select the clips I want to add and just drag them to the drop zones there. Now at this point, I've got all 12 playing together, and I can choose to sync by automatic, by time code, by audio, or manually. And once I choose my sync mode, that's all I have to do to create my clip. So you could use this for a few different things. You could sync together an external audio with a video clip. So if you record your audio separately, or you could use it for an A/B style interview where you have an interviewer and an interviewee, and you just want to cut back and forth between them without having to find the reaction shots. Or what I'm doing here is 12 different shots, then sync those together. So there's a lot of different ways you could use Multicam in LumaFusion. Once you're done, you would just say finish. And at this point, you have a choice of whether you want to insert the clip into an existing timeline, open a new project, or just save in the library. I'm going to insert it and open the switcher. At this point, you can see I have a lot of clips here, but some of them haven't started yet in time. I'm going to start just tapping on the clips as I'm playing. And as you can see, the cuts are being made down in the timeline. And if you make mistakes, that's not a big deal. You can come back, scroll through what you've done. Okay, say I want to trade out this clip for this one. I can just do that and it'll trade it out until the next cut point. Or say I want to trade out just halfway through a clip to another angle. And again, I could just do that by tapping on the angle and it'll switch it till the next cut. And when you're done with the switcher, you just close it and that is now your clip. It's all cut. Now this clip acts just like any other clip on the timeline. You can also add effects to that clip and add it to another timeline, layer it, and so on. So that is Multicam in LumaFusion.
One thing I'm noticing automatically, I mean, we're talking about multicam clips and all, but the clips that you're showing, folks, take a good look at that. Those are 3840s by 2160s. Those are HD clips. And so this is not something where you're going to be hampered or, yeah, well, we have to can only work in SD. You're saying we can work in the full cameras, the full video of the cameras that the iPhones and iPads give us.
Yeah, exactly. Not only that, but full HDR as well. So if you're, doing on the new iPhone, 12 Pro in Dolby Vision, you'll be working in that as well.
That's really, really impressive to see this. And again, keep in mind that, folks, we are looking at an iPad screen. We're not looking at a Mac screen. We're looking at an iPad screen. So
yeah, and let me
nice.
go to let me see if I've got the scopes here too.
Scopes.
Go into this clip and go into our effects editor. Turn on the scopes. And now you've got this live view of your your media through that. You can use these for adjusting. I'll just park it somewhere, but they are live running. And you can now adjust, your blacks and whites. And so you have your histogram, your waveform, and your vector scope. So you can really get in there and see what's going on. And those work both with the the color. Chris, can you say that?
Yeah, with Rec 709 or any HDR color space, and they're correctly adjusted for those different color spaces.
Yeah.
Media you're using.
Yeah. So that's another feature. And then what was the other? Oh, the keyframing. So would you like to see that too, Chuck?
Sure. Let's see keyframing.
All right. So I'll use that same clip. I'll just go back in here and let's go to the frame and fit editor. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit, turn on keyframing. Let me go back over here. I'm going to put a keyframe here, and then I'll put a keyframe down over here, and maybe I'll do one in the middle. So now I can jump over here. Okay, so now we've got this clip kind of moving around the screen. So it's going like this. And in keyframing, in the easing options, you now have both the ease editor that does the speed, and you have the curve editor that will do the curve. So if I set a keyframe to a curve, I can just come in here and adjust that curve, go to the next keyframe, and again, set it to curve or linear or hold, and make adjustments as I like on those things. So you can really adjust how that clip is going to move through space. And you can also go to the ease editor and adjust how it's going to move through time. So if I go to the middle one and I set this to ease in and out here for time. This is a very short clip, but you can see it came to a nice, smooth stop. So you have both those things, which is going to make our keyframing just really powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The visualization, and then because you can see as you change with the editors, you can see the path change.
Right. And there'll be some more indicators. Yeah. We'll have more indicators there, so you can see the speed on like a dotted line on the curve of the speed, so that you see how fast it's going, stuff like that.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so we have to wait till June till we get this, but it's going to be well worth the wait.
Yeah, the keyframing will actually be part of the one of the in-app purchase packets. They'll be a little later this summer. So the things we'll get in June are the stabilization and the new part of the new UI and the external drive editing, and then a little later this summer we'll have the new keyframe editing and multicam.
So as far as the resizable UI, you've got all this that you can do, so you can really adjust how big you want each section, if you want a huge timeline, if you want a huge library, or so on. And with the external output, so if I have an external monitor here, you'll now be able to see both the output preview both on the external monitor and on LumaFusion, which is a new thing.
And we'll be adding more controls for the external monitor as well, to be able to select what resolution you want the external monitor displayed at. And that's one of the really cool things. If you've got the money for it with the new iPad Pro, you could also get yourself one of the new Apple, Pro XDR displays and hook that up through Thunderbolt and have, LumaFusion's preview with glorious output on that display as well.
Yeah, I think us normal people will probably be using USB-C monitors or 4K monitors. But
right.
If you have it, why not?
Use it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. the resizable thing, I hope folks understand just how important that is, because most of us will be working with this on an iPad, whether it's the 11 or the 12.9. And that's, while that's big, it's still, when you're doing this stuff with all these controls, you can kind of never have enough screen real estate. So the ability to say, for right now, I'm going to be working with this control and I want that more visible and more easily accessed, pull it down, do it, then, okay, I'm going to go to this one over here. And that's great. That is such a nice evolution.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. It was a relatively small feature to implement, but it has big implications, and we're really happy about that one.
Yeah. Well, I will confess that I'm a LumaFusion fan, and I'm sure it shows, and I don't apologize for it, because I think what you all have done here in the iPad environment is just phenomenal. It really is.
It is super fun. We're having a really, really fun time doing it as well. So that makes it extra good.
Yeah, I bet.
Shall I show the audio EQ?
Oh, that would be great.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's see.
Feel free to show us anything you want, Terry.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Let's see. I don't have the audio. I'll show you the UI for that. So you can see it. Let's see. Where is that end band EQ? Okay. So, before we haven't had a UI for the audio controls so much. So, or at all, to be honest. But right now you can go through and adjust the different. So say you wanted to roll off your low end, you could do this, add to the high end. So we have this end band EQ that you can completely control. And while you're playing, you hear the changes that you're making. So this is a huge improvement for audio. I think I know we will have presets for certain things like, high end and low end and other presets. But for me, it really changed how much audio I can do with LumaFusion, just to fix sort of a noise in a room or clarify some voice or something like that is great.
And this is all, again, built in.
Yep, that's a free feature that'll be part of 2.5, so that's going to be really nice.
The two things I think the three things I've showed you that would be part of the director's pack are the multicam editing, the video scopes, and the keyframing. But again, the free things are video stabilization, the resizable UI, direct external drive editing, which we haven't really talked too much about, the audio EQ, and the third-party audio units are all just things that we're going to put out for free in the next version.
We'll have more with Terry and Chris from LumaFusion talking about some of the audio capabilities of LumaTouch, as well as answering questions about Final Cut Pro coming to the iPad or not, and what it means for the future of LumaFusion. That's next time on MacVoices. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.